Hello and welcome back to the Tesseract Qualifier series. This is the semi-finals, and we've had a wonderful past 3 weeks. We've seen some very exciting matches, and it's all come down to this now. So the first match that we'll be seeing will be between Hunters and Infamous Stigma. And joined with me today will be Denier.
Thank you, Singy. And the very first match between Hunter's Ace and Infamous Stigma, we do have Hunter's Ace, who, in my opinion, have been one of the most innovative, fun teams to watch so far. They've come in at the number 3 seed and are the only non-number 1 seed to make it to the semi-finals. They had to knock out Revival Esports to get here, and many other very strong teams along the way. They're facing some of the toughest and the top-ranked opponents in SEA, Infamous Stigma, today in the semi-finals in a fight to move on to that prestigious place in the finals for the chance to battle it out for VIPL. Some of the players on this Hunters roster, you'll have seen them if you've been watching already, but we do have LMPK, Sudons, and today Dead Doll as well. Now, you all know Sudons, he was playing in VIPL, represented Hunters in Season 2, and showed some really amazing plays. LMPK is widely regarded as one of the best laners in SEA region, so we really have a treat for you today. And their opponents, Infamous Stigma, really do pack a lot of talent as well.
So Infamous Stigma, they are the number 1 seed, and they've had some fantastic games so far. Some very fast games. In the round of 64, they beat the number 16 seed every days. They're also able to beat the number 8 and the number 4 seed in the round of 32 and round of 16. And then there's seed number 2, Paradox Insomniacs, in quarterfinals, which should have been quite a tough match, but they were able to finish out in under 15 minutes. Actually, they were able to finish out all their games in under 15 minutes.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive, actually. So that's, 8 games at least?
Yeah, that's incredible. Even if the first few rounds you would expect, first 15 minutes, that would be acceptable, but even against the number 2 seed.
Yeah, we've all heard of Infamous. Everyone in Southeast Asia has heard. Who hasn't heard of Infamous? They've been one of the top rating guilds since the game started. So Infamous Stigma, they are a fully Vietnamese team, and they didn't really exist before Season 1, but they brought together quite last minute, and they've been doing a really, really good job. They've had some really strong performances so far. So I think we can expect to see some really good things from them. On the roster, we do have Mamma Mia and Denarius. Mamma Mia, he's been playing since the early beta, so he knows the game. He really knows the game. And we also have Denarius. He's a very famed jungler, and I have to comment on his glaive plays are very powerful. So tonight's match between Hunter's Ace and Infamous Stigma is going to be, I think it's going to be a very tense game, actually.
Yeah, let's get it kicked off with that very first draft. Now, so far, I have seen a lot of innovation out of Hunters, as I was saying in that introduction.
Mm-hmm.
They've played some of the less standard team comps. They've brought out Ozo a couple of times. I can't remember the last one they played, but it was that Crystal Cruel with the Broken Myth, which really, really set the standard. It's something you've heard people say and go, oh, this could be really, really powerful, but that's them bringing it out in quarterfinal matches to get themselves to this position.
Yeah. One thing I want to say about Hunters is that they have actually grown a lot as a team. I don't know if it's just in the first game we saw them in the round of, I think it was around 32 or around of 64. They just, something seemed a little bit off. They didn't seem to be, properly working together as a team. But in the quarterfinals, I think we've seen so much improvement coming out from them.
Yep. I like how they can roster change as well. They've got a very deep roster, and that means that they've got the possibility for these two Kalurs. It's Kaelu and Silu, and those are brothers. So when they play together, there's going to be a lot of synergy. And we did see that in the quarterfinals. They played the first match without them together. It wasn't the easiest. They struggled a little bit, switched the roster, put them in together, and you just saw them absolutely stomp. So it'd be really exciting to see what goes on today. But here we have full lock-ins from both teams.
Well, personally, I like to see if we do see an Infamous match that goes past 15 minutes, to be honest.
Well, it looks like they are going to try for that early game with a Fortress. Looks like it's going to be that Crystal Fortress along with a Weapon Power Box. And on the opposing team, it's LMPK on Adagio, Sudons on Lane Blackfeather, Dead Doll on Arden.
Yeah, I think this will be a very, how do you think the start of this game is going to be going? So, I mean, they've got, so Infamous Stigma, they have a Crystal Fortress on the team, and a lot of people have,
Cool.
They have a Crystal Fortress on the team, which has been proven to be a little bit of a challenge towards the enemy pool.
And here we see the lane starting. Obviously, Sudons is going to have a little bit of a rougher time against Kalu to begin with. the Resonance Fences could hurt quite a lot right now. He has a bit of minion aggro, but considering he picked up the Book of Eulogies and Kahlua hasn't, that poke damage from on point is just going to be chunking down Kahlua slowly but surely if Sudons can keep landing it, which seems to be his priority right now.
Yeah, I mean, Blackfeather and Vox aren't exactly the strongest early game laners, so this could be quite fun.
Weapon Power Vox does ramp up a lot faster than a Crystal one would, so don't expect to see the lull in playing lane for too long.
Yeah, so Crystal Fortress, what is a good counter against him? Is there... What do you think?
Well, we have spoken about this other times. I mean, obviously you want to be avoiding those wolves as much as possible. Get your support to be dealing with them, even if they need to buy like a Swifter or something for slightly more attack speed. Get those 3 basic attacks down. I believe this is why Ringo was banned by Infamous, because they knew that Ringo's attack speed was one of the best counters to the wolves of Fortress. They don't want him being able to deal with them so fast. Instead, they've only got Blackfeather and Adagio. Adagio does tend to build a bit of attack speed, but that's only because his base attack speed is so slow. They need to be using Arden to peel away from fights with wolves, because if you fight with the wolves and you don't delete the enemy team instantly, you're in for a really rough time. It can melt anyone, even tanks, because if you leave the support until last, then he'll have 3 wolves on him, and they're just going to get a chunk down so quickly.
Yeah, so the good time to really pick a fight is when you know that when the Fortress does not have his attack of the pack ready.
Yep, it looked like LMPK was a little bit out of position there compared to the rest of his team. If the 3 of Infamous had rotated down, they could have cut him out, I believe. Deadalt is left quite low right now. I imagine he'll just heal up by trying to get some lane minion aggro though.
Yeah, I think this is a bit of a different game from kind of Infamous that we've been seeing before. You know, usually at this point they're being very aggressive, kind of invading into the jungle. But it seems like they're just kind of testing their opponents out at the moment.
Yeah, well, one other thing about Fortress is he's not the best on a 2-on-2 jungle fight. So on a 3-on-3 right now, this is just showing how he will shine. But look how much damage he's taking from that buffed Adagio, who's having to use his boots active to get out of there.
Yep, and this does give Infamous a chance to get some of the minions from Hunter's Ace right now. And looks like they are chasing into Adagio, and LMPK taking a lot of damage there from Kahlua on his own support. A little bit OP there, doing a lot of job. But this is a bit of a 3v2 situation. It's not looking great for Kahlua and Daenerys, and they're just going to be backing off at this point as they do see that Blackfeather is heading towards them.
Yep, I think you really called on the ball there with Infamous invading just after you said that they weren't being very aggressive.
Yeah, and then they realized it's a bad idea. But, you know, it's kind of nice just letting Blackfeather show his face, know that he was there and forcing him to back off.
Yeah, they are giving Vox a little bit more farm right now, giving him those front camps, and then they'll just back off from any engage that Arden and Adagio won't force. Like I was saying though, Fortress in a 2v2 fight right now, he's only with Catherine. They're not going to be able to stack those bleed stacks very fast. So what they really need to try and do is get a 3-on-3 team fight. And look at Kahlua just get chunked down by that buffed Adagio, I think. Wow, that was incredible.
Yeah.
Like 2 hits and he was dead.
Did not even get an attack in, so I don't really know what's going on, because I assume he could see them, judging from that minion mine, that mine that was placed there, right under that bush.
Yep, maybe he just didn't really respect how quickly he could go down and how little defense he had. But he is sitting on heavy steel, 2 swift shooters and a weapon blade, so a really strong weapon build already. The ground levels of it ready there.
Yeah, I think Infamous are just lagging a little bit behind in terms of farm, but it's not, it's not nothing major at this point. It's just 3 or 4 for both the laner and the jungler.
Yep, obviously both these teams have been represented at VIPL. However, it is Sudons who's actually played there. Behind the team of Infamous, they do have RJ and everyone else who played in Season 2. So they've got the advice that those players can provide for them, but it just doesn't quite compare to actually having the experience of being there yourself. And it looks like they are aggressive on Kahlua again, and the Blackfeather is finishing off with the Rose Trail there. I can't remember the name of that first skill.
So Kahlua is kind of left to defend the lane in a bit of a 1v3 situation. I think things aren't looking too great for Infamous. I mean, it's a little bit, it's still early stages. It's nothing like, they're losing. I think they still play a little bit more cleverly at this point.
Yep, they do really need to get that Fortress ramping up. He is level 6 now, so if they pick a fight anytime soon, it will be very beneficial for them. This is one of their power spikes. However, I like what Hunters have done. They've really shut down Kahlua. He was sitting at level 4 till he came back to the lane now, so he has been a little bit starved out. He's sitting on 39 farm compared to Sudon's 50, so they know exactly what to do to push him out of lane. And we have seen this before, actually, it was Pork Buns. He played that lane Blackfeather, I can't remember the name of the team, unfortunately, but it just sticks in my head that he played this very tanky lane Blackfeather, went for the Barb Needle boots, the Dragon Heart, and just forced any other laner out by being so sustaining.
Yeah, and we see all three members of Infamous Stigma in the lane here, and looks like they're going to be rotating down. Well, Kahlua actually not anymore, so it just looks like the Daenerys and the other Kahlua are.
Well, they need to learn their win conditions here. They won a very good early team fight simply by roaming down as three. The laner would roam down perfectly in rotation with the junglers, and they are going to win an all-out 3v3 because they can target one person and delete them so fast. They did pick Arden that last fight, which maybe wasn't the best choice, but it still won them a few good jungle camps, and that is exactly what they need to do again.
Yeah, so I think we're going to be seeing a very slow start until we see all the kind of the main heroes kind of ramping up to their full potential at this point. But I do think with that Fortress at level 7 now, should be probably be engaging pretty soon, especially with that Attack of the Pack ready to be released.
And just look at that timing, exactly 6 minutes 37 in, both supports by their fountains in unison right there. That was incredible.
Yeah, and I think the items are very similar as well, so they're probably just sitting on similar. They had been sitting on similar amounts of money, but right now I've got to say Hunters do have the better rotation. Kahlua just taking a little bit of damage there just to kind of face check that bush.
I was just going to say, it just does show you how close these teams are matched. You do not want to be giving away any small mistakes. Here comes the Attack of the Pack from Fortress. Kahlua is a little bit caught out. There comes the wait for it though.
Yeah, the silence comes out and Dead taking a lot of damage, but Sidons is lunging for Kahlua and actually picks up the kill there onto him, and the whole time the wolves are on him, so it looks like they will get the kill onto Sidons there, but LMPK and Kahlua just jumping in. Kahlua looking a little bit low there, and it looks like they could finish the kill onto LMPK, and that is going to be the first ace of the game going towards Infamous Stigma.
They just did not respect the wolves, like I was saying. They decided to go for an all-out team fight. They managed to delete Kahlua pretty quickly, even after the wait for it and his damage had been come out, but yeah, they just left the wolves for far too long.
I think they just got a little bit cocky, because what happened was the Hunters, they were like, we've been kind of winning all our little fights, we've been successfully poking them out of the lane, we can take them with the wolves. I think that's just what happened there.
Yep, exactly. Sidons did do very, very well, and the rest of the team of Hunters did well at targeting Kahlua, but after that, they'd all just taken too much of the bleed stacks from the wolves, were already a little bit slow, couldn't disengage if they wanted to, so they were stuck there with a full health Fortress on their backs.
Yeah, and it was for the first, the game has changed a little bit towards Infamous. I think this is going to be quite a back and forth game, judging by what we've seen already.
Well, I think it's Hunters that have thrown it so far in this early game. They were leading, they have farmed up more, and they could have punished Infamous a little bit more, in my opinion. With a Fortress, like I was saying, they can't win 2v2 jungle fights very easily, especially especially without an Arden. So if Adagio and Arden manage to invade, then they will just be able to do so much more and be able to force that Fortress out of the jungle.
The Kahlua on the Vox was a little bit behind if you look at his farm, so he's got a 62 to Sidon's 90, so that's the difference, 28. A Fright is breaking out, the wait for comes out, 2 silences, and the wolves are released yet again. So they are down a dead doll, and they're just jumping onto Sidons and LMPK. The Versus Gen comes out, does stun Kahlua, but they are able to pick up a kill on him. Sidon's now the only one left alive, and this is going to be another ace going towards Infamous Stigma.
All credit to Kahlua on Catherine there for taking so much of the turret aggro. Did manage to secure that ace for her team, but however, Sidon's managed to turn around and take out Kahlua with him, so I know they didn't save the turret, but he managed to pick up something off the back of it. I mean, that was really well done.
I have a feeling the Kahlua of the Sea is having some connection issues, because I've seen him kind of like lagging out a few times. He just doesn't seem to be moving as smoothly, so that could be an issue. I'm not sure. Can't confirm it with him.
Well, that last team fight seemed to go very well for him. Yeah. Ace, wait for it, followed by the attacks and this Catherine silence. I mean, it was really well followed up.
Yeah, it's been well followed up. So even though Infamous Stigma are ahead in terms of kills and another fight is breaking out, Kahlua and Daenerys backing off. They don't have the wolves up, so probably not the best time to engage. Sidon's taking a little bit of damage there from Fortress's bleed.
Yep, I think both teams right now know exactly what their win conditions are. Hunters need to fight when the wolves are down, but Infamous need to fight when they do have the wolves available. So both teams are now just playing around that. Like, Hunters will be so aggressive during that cooldown period. The wolves are ready now, so Infamous do risk going down to the jungle, going to the shop, because if the fight starts now, here comes a gauntlet from Arden.
The Wolves do come out. Fortress does better the fountain, and we see a wait for it coming out. Kahlua looking a little bit low actually, but the Wolves are doing a lot of work. Sudons and Dead Doll are going to go down very fast, I think. But Daenerys is in a very sticky situation. Kahlua doing his best to 1v1, and looks like he's actually going to get the ace for them.
And if you just look there, Adagio had 2 of the 3 wolves still on him at that stage, so he couldn't get away from Catherine. Even if he used his heal, he just had no chance of escaping. I mean, they did do very, very well at getting Daenerys down very low as well, but it just wasn't quite enough yet.
It just wasn't quite enough, and we do see Catherine does have a war on it, which would be a very good kind of engaging mechanism, especially with a Fortress.
Yep, just the more that Hunters throw away these very, very close team fights, the more that it's going to start snowballing in Infamous's favor. That's 2 aces that they've given away, a turret down. They need to start picking their fights a little bit better now. With Fortress now having a Frostburn, actually, it's an interesting first buy. I've seen it before. Usually you would see the Aftershock go, but
yeah, I'd say it's actually been working so far, but yes, Aftershock Broken Myth does seem to be the pretty standard build that we do see on a Crystal Fortress.
Yep, that Broken Myth just does so much. These fights are quite extended already, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was maybe an item he still went for. But they do have double Fountain on their team now, which may be the reason that last one went in their favor. Fortress did pick it up just before the fight broke out, so maybe Hunters didn't realize that was their most recent pickup.
Yeah, and look at the money that Fortress is saying on 1800 gold. So he looks like he is going to be going for an Aftershock Broken Myth. He just picked up the Piercing Shard and the Chronograph there. And the Wolves are released. They jump straight in. Dead Doll does seem to be the target there as he gets stunned by Kahlua. The wait for it comes out. Sudons is caught in the middle of it all, but he is doing a lot of damage there onto Kahlua, but does get chunked down there at the end. LMPK and Dead Doll are just separated, and that's going to be another ace.
That just looked like so indecisive from Hunters. This is not the team we've seen in other rounds. They were so to and fro. Adagio was running away. Sudons decided to Rosa Fence through the wall when Dead Doll was already pretty much dead. Yeah. He did take the aggro off of him, but that just meant that the Wolves were already chunking away at them. They hadn't dealt with it. Sudons could have stayed on the other side of the wall, dealt with the wolf that was on him at least, and then come through, but instead giving away another ace to Infamous, where all 3 members stayed alive this time. Like I was saying, the more they throw these fights away, the more it's going to start snowballing.
Yeah, I think they just lost their confidence after that first kind of fight, where they kind of just gave them the first ace, I suppose. I think they just kind of regain that confidence, and I think also Sudons does need to build a little bit more damage. Currently, he isn't sitting on any tier 3 attack item.
Yeah, that's true. It looks like here's the double silence from Infamous again. The Gauntlet did come down, but Harden is the first one to die. LMPK taking a lot of damage from the Wolves and still not dealing with them.
Yeah, Sudons looks like he might be able to make this away, preventing the ace, but he is going to stay there, and that's going to be another ace there for Infamous Stigma.
If you noticed, he couldn't make it away. He had the slow from the bleed still on him, and he'd made it that far along the map without even taking one of the 3 ticks off of the wolf. So
I think what should have happened is when the Gauntlet came down, none of Infamous Stigma have a reflex block apart from Kahlua. They probably should just ran away at this point, just leaving Dead Doll there.
It may have been a safer situation. Sometimes you just have to take these hits.
But I saw some hesitation coming out from LMPK and Sudons, and I think that's what kind of cost them that ace.
Definitely. They do. Infamous do pick up another gold mine here. I just think, what do you think Hunters have to do to come back from this one?
Well, at this point, it's pretty difficult. So Daenerys on that fortress, he's overdriven his attack of the pack. He does have some cooldown there with that chronograph. It's actually going to be very difficult trying to pick a fight when the wolves aren't out. And there they are again. So they've got a cooldown of 40 seconds this time. Alan PK does get stunned there, and he's going to go down really fast. Doesn't get a chance to channel his Versal Judgment there. And there is no turret to retreat back to. Sudon's being slowed there. And he is dead.
Sorry, we had a little bit of lag on our end there. We just froze just as the Sudons was engaged on. Looks like Infamous are going to engage onto another turret here, probably take down this first Bane Crystal turret and possibly the second one. This could be game if they decide to stick around, which it looks like they will.
Yep, Adagio is out, but I don't think there's much he can do. So this is going to be a perfectly just over 15-minute game. So I see Infamous Stigma have broken their little trend of under 15-minute games here.
This has just been incredible to watch. You need to really appreciate how Infamous are chaining their silences together, and that is what is winning them team fights. Vox will throw out his silence, followed immediately by Catherine, just at the perfect moment so that there's no respite for Hunters. So I will just have a quick look at the builds just now. So We do see a few infusions popped here. I think Hunters were more in last-ditch attempt of defense here. Sudons did finish that Serpent's Mask, had the tier 3 boots and an Aegis as well, but I think the problem was he was tanky enough and the damage would have been enough with the Adagio buff, but the engages were just never in their favor. Any gauntlet that went down was most often catching all the members of Infamous, and there was always an attack of the pack immediately to counter it. Talking about that, Daenerys on the Fortress did go for the Frostburn and Fountain. Now, the double Fountain on Infamous was winning them a lot of fights there. The attack of the pack was always chunking away at Hunters. They weren't really paying too much attention until it was taking massive chunks off of their health, especially when 2 or 3 wolves run one member of the team. So if Infamous could sustain those fights, knowing that Hunters weren't going for the wolves like they should have, it was almost guaranteed that it would go in their favor. And look at him, he's 9-0 and 10. Kahlua on Catherine, 2-0 and 17. That's a perfect game for both of them. And Kahlua on Vox with the C, it's more just unfortunate that he was targeted so much that he had the 5 deaths of his team. It's nothing against his personal skill, because Hunter's game plan was to shut him down at the lane, but I think that was maybe not the right choice. They could have easily forced Fortress out of the jungle and saved them a lot of the problems that they had in the later game.
Yep, so let's go to the next game. So, how do you feel about how that game went there? So obviously Infamous, they looked like they were struggling a little bit at the start.
Yeah, it did look like Hunters were in the driving seat. They had more farm, and this is the point I was making with having the international experience on Sudons. He was against what was potentially a more threatening comp for diving him, but until he reached level 6, he didn't really have much escape potential. But that wasn't really taken advantage of too much. Instead, it was the Vox who was suffering in lane. So I really think that Infamous got off very lightly from the stronger jungle not invading into them. They managed to get a couple of good aces when it was a three-man rotation down to the jungle shop, and Hunters just did not, like I was saying, didn't take advantage of the invasion that our Adagio could have given them.
Okay, so we've been quite so I think I would love to see an Ozo coming out from Sudons again. We've seen him play it 3 or 4 times now in the past, and I think he's had quite an impressive showing. I think the only time we saw him kind of like falter a little bit with that Ozo pick was with that Rome Ozo, which unfortunately for them didn't work out that well.
I don't know whether that was ever a series pick or not. I think we'll have to ask them another day, but it was really an interesting one. It didn't work out like you said. The repositioning that Ozo provides could have worked, but I don't remember enough about that game. I just remember they were shut down very, very early on because they were trying to use Ozo's base damage, which isn't very high as it stands.
Yes. So I actually think there is a potential for a third game. So I know that first game did look a little bit kind of one-sided there at the start. But from what I've seen of Hunters before, I've been very impressed by them. They've have some excellent synergy. And I don't know if this is the first time they are up against Infamous Stigma or they're just not very used to their playstyle, but I think they do have a chance that they do work together a lot more, and we do see a bit more coordination coming out from them.
Yep. Obviously, the teams just want a small break right now in between. These are very important matches. We saw Kahlua having a little bit of connection issues, so he's going to restart his connection. So we will allow this, especially at such a high level at the semi-finals here. We want all the teams to be as comfortable as possible, playing their best, because it will provide the best viewing for you guys out there as well.
Yes. So what can we expect from both teams? So Infamous Stigma, they've always played quite fast games.
Yeah, especially, like I was saying, Vox on weapon ramps up much faster than Crystal Vox. It's not what you would be expecting off of that team. They want to be hitting level 6 on Fortress and then just aggression. And that's exactly what they did. They pulled it off very, very well. And Fortress's build path was it worked really well for them. So the Frostburn guaranteed any ace that they could have gotten. And by going for the chronograph and the piercing shard at the same time rather than going for the single tier 3 item, he got the benefits that he needed from both. It's a very situational thing to decide whether you go for the next tier 3 with both tier 2s or whether you split your focus. He did have an extra slot which was only filled with a Halcyon potion, so when it came round to it, he could have taken that the tier 2 item into his next item that he needed. But the chronograph just gave him the cooldown he needed, and with the piercing shard, the enemy did have a lot of shield already, so that was definitely benefiting him a lot.
Yep. So we're hopefully going to be able to go in like the next few minutes for the second game. Sure, we're all looking everybody's very excited to see what's going to be happening. So currently in the next game the next matchup after this Hunter's Infamous game is another infamous matchup. So Infamous have managed to send all three of their teams into the semi-finals.
Yeah, the next one will be Spectre against Legion. And I don't want to be doing too much before we've got through the first match, but just so you guys know exactly what's coming up, these are, again, both number 1 seeds from their respective brackets. Just thinking about the rankings of teams in Southeast Asia, you're getting like the number 1 seed, the number 2 seed, and the number 3 seed pretty much all coming out of Infamous right here. It is not an organization that you can ignore when you're thinking about SEA.
Yeah, so I think we've almost got the members in. We're just going to be waiting a little bit longer. Sorry for the delay, everyone, but we do want to kind of make sure that you do get the kind of best possible experience that you can.
Yep, sit tight. I mean, if anyone wants to try and guess any team comps that are coming up, if I see a right one, that will be very, very impressive. I mean, I think the Hunters aren't going to go for that same comp again. They're probably going to try and secure the Arden, maybe ban out the Fortress this time, though.
Yeah, I think a Fortress would be a very good ban. I think I have seen Hunters win against a Fortress composition before.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all these teams will have experience against it, but it's just who can pull it off against the top teams. Like, obviously, when you play in the public queue, you're playing against like maybe solo queue players or players that haven't played together consistently. So you really want to be trying your best in these matches. And when you come up against such a powerful hero, obviously everyone knows he is very much in the meta right now.
Yep, so we do have everyone in now. We can just jump into the second draft game. So let's go. So Infamous Stigma do get the first ban. I think last time we did see the Ringo ban coming up for them, and the Sky from Hunters. Wouldn't surprise me if they did produce a Fortress ban.
I think this is definitely a targeted ban against LMPK. He is a very powerful laner. We have seen him play a lot of Ringo before, if my memory serves me. And Hunters are banning out Saw, which I find to be very interesting.
And I'm not sure if this is a misclick, but it does appear that they have banned Saw.
Yep, it could be that they've seen Infamous practicing the push comp, and they want to make sure they get Adagio for themselves, so I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, so Kaluuya is locking in that Fortress again. This isn't really what Hunters want, and I'm a bit disappointed that they didn't actually ban the Fortress straight away.
Yep, it definitely should have been that Fortress ban, in my opinion. They don't want to be giving that way. We did see, us being from the EU region, SK Gaming, there was a very strong game by them where they dealt with a Fortress by having a Crystal Saw in their team. Now, Saw, when he's ramped up, has the fastest basic attacks in the game. So even though he wasn't weapon, he was managing to get those 3 ticks onto the wolves. Like, he can deal with all 3 wolves in a matter of like 1 or 2 seconds. And then he has the power behind his Crystal build to use the Shank and use the suppressing fire, etc. To actually take out the heroes. So it was a really good counter. I'm not sure why they're deciding to ban it out here, though.
Well, I've just heard that Infamous Stigma are famous for playing the Saw Adagio Arden in SEA, and they do play it a lot. As it's been described to me, the Southeast Asia's version of Team Secret from Europe.
Now, I'm sorry that we're bringing in so many references to our own region, but obviously we do play there. We know exactly what we expect. And here we do see another Adagio and a Vox as well coming out from Infamous. So slightly different team comps, but exactly the same heroes.
But what's funny is that, Kaluuya or Daenerys, either of them could be the support, either of them could be the jungler. It's very, it's very difficult to say at this moment.
Yeah, I would personally put Daenerys on Adagio being the support. We will have to see, though. Fortress is still a very strong support hero, though. In fact, I changed in my opinion. I think Fortress is going to be the support.
I actually prefer Fortress as a support rather than the Crystal Jungle. I think he's in a very good position right now. So we're seeing Sudan's on Koshka. I do actually remember him playing Koshka before, and he's very, they're very aggressive. And I do like when we see very aggressive teams come up against each other because it's it's quite funny to see how they try and counter each other.
Now, I know that this might not make sense, but I believe Sky is countered pretty hard by a level 6 fortress, right? So the wolves, she can't use forward barrage. She can't use that to damage anyone because the wolves are all in the way and they block that. However, if you can invade, I know the Sky isn't in the jungle right now, but if you can invade so hard that Fortress struggles to reach level 6, she is one of the best counters to a Fortress early game.
Yeah, and I think with a Koshka and an Arden on the team, they could do that very well. But with against an Adagio Fortress, who could also be struggling if they do try to do this. So Adagio is going to be the jungler, and Clue is going to be the support here. Students and Dead are actually backing away, so it looks like they don't want to fight early, and it's probably a good thing because Kaluuya from the lane has come down.
Yep, both laners have rotated down almost in unison. However, Kaluuya did manage to shop in that small brief period. And it looks like Sudons and Deadall are aggressing in here, but it's going to be 3-on-2. LMPK does activate the boots to join them.
Yes, Sudon jumping straight in, dealing a lot of damage there onto Daenerys. Daenerys looking like he could go down. Sudon is going to go down in response.
Yeah, it's like 1-for-1 at exactly the same time. Arden goes down to make it a 2-for-1, but it looks like LMPK could kite this out and possibly get one for himself here. There's a lot of damage down onto Clue, but Clue on Vox is chasing this one down. Another Sonic Zoom could finish off LMPK here. It's not an ace, but 3 kills going over in favor of Infamous. This is not a good start for Hunters.
We're going to have to call Clue and Clue something different. This is getting very confusing for me. I'm the colon C and the colon K.
Well, I was rooting for Kaluuya to win Ice last time, so just so he could change his name.
Well, he obviously didn't take on your advice. So that was a pretty nice start there for Infamous Stigma. I think again we saw a bit of hesitancy coming out from Hunters.
Well, they weren't doing too badly. You saw the first kills of both teams going down at exactly the same time. However, Dead Doll had taken a lot of extra damage there. It looks like Adagio does manage to take down Koshka. Their aggression isn't quite working this game, and they need to win jungle with that Koshka.
Yeah, Dead Doll taking a lot of damage. They're using the Vanguard to try and get to the LMPK and out of range of Daenerys and Kaluuya.
What I was saying in that last fight was Dead Doll took a lot of damage in the same time that it took both the first deaths to go down. So when it came around to switching targets onto the next, Dead Doll was easily the next one because he was already almost dead.
Yep. So LMPK, what do you think about that weapon Sky pick?
It's going to be very, very strong. The build I expect to see coming out of him is going to be like a Thor Blade, double monocle, or double monocle and what's the third item? There's another one where you can go double monocle and oh gosh, I can't remember off the top of my head now, but it is extremely powerful to have 2 Tyrant's monocles behind that forward barrage.
Yep, because Sky's forward barrage now has crit potential, so getting any crit items on her is very powerful.
Yep, definitely. We will just have to see how she goes, but it looks like Sudons and Deadall were trying to be aggressive again, but they make it out with probably worse off than Infamous. Infamous are doing really well at holding their jungle right now. It's probably the benefit of having a fortress as their support pick right now. They've just got more aggression potential than the invasion of Koshka, who only has the backup defensively.
Yep, it's looking pretty close right now. I'm seeing a bit of a skirmish coming out. Clue taking a little bit of damage, but he does use a potion, and it's like nothing happened.
Well, Dead Doll is the worst off out of all of that. Sudons goes to rotate back of his jungle. He's not really going to be battle ready though. He's going to have to take a little trip home, I imagine, after clearing these backs, because staying at half health, he's going to take a lot of jungle aggression. Arden is coming down to join him right now though.
Yeah, he really needs to get to that level 6. I think once he gets to that level 6, he'll be doing a lot more. He kind of gets a nice little power spike, especially if he gets that aftershock. But I think the problem is right now is that he's not getting that much money.
No, it's usually you would have more successful invasions from across. I mean, she's invading all the way through the jungle right now onto Kaluuya on Fortress right now. It looks like they're going to try and steal that minion miner, but they haven't completely forced them away, and they're just allowing Adagio to get heal and buff onto himself.
So Kaluuya going down very fast. Unfortunately, Dead Doll is caught in between all 3 members, and that's going to be a 2-for-0 trade-off.
And Vox were taking down just to try and get a little bit of extra gold off those kills for himself as well.
Yeah, we're going to see Hunters working a lot harder to try and come back from this. They do have a very strong early game comp with that Koshka and the Arden on their team, but right now it's not coming off very successfully.
No, like I said in the beginning, they have been quite inventive with their comp so far. However, what we've seen so far has just been a little bit stale with the meta from both teams. It's the highest played heroes, the most expected. There's been some targeted bans rather than meta bans right now as well, which really doesn't help with that.
Yep, so but you know what? We're actually seeing a Sky in the competition so far. We've rarely seen her. And Dead taking a little bit of damage again. The forward barrage just kind of just missing Infamous Stigma there.
Well, I'm still unsure about LMPK's build. Does have another weapon blade, has finished the 6 sins, but it probably is going to be a Store Blade to begin with here.
Yep. So I think it's still quite close. We're kind of coming up to 6 minutes now, and there's a 1.5k gold difference.
Yep, and that has led to Kahlua on Fortress actually looking like he has the upper hand against Dead Doll on Arden here. Does have the Life Spring finished, whereas Arden only has the Oak Heart still. So maybe not the exact same fountain pickup time this time around. We're getting to that 6 minutes, and there are a few, another 30 seconds or so, and we might see the first fountain coming.
Yep. So clearly realizing he can finish those minions off as a support hero without Stormguard. But I think we're going to come to a bit of a stalemate right now. I don't think we should expect to see that much coming out from either of those teams in the next few minutes. Looks like, oh, I was wrong. We're seeing Hunter's Ace determined to engage on the Sidon's level 7. He does have his Yummy Catnip Frenzy already, but isn't going to be able to land that on anyone.
There comes the death from above, but it does miss all the members of the enemy team. Kahlua does get locked down by the Yummy Catnip Frenzy and dies for it, but it's a 1-for-1 trade-off. Probably not the best idea, especially with Daenerys coming in full health into this fight.
Yeah, I think it was a bad idea to start. I think they were just so desperate to pick up any kills at the moment. They were just going to dive under turret for that.
Yeah, Koshka taking a lot of turret aggro from it, and meanwhile, LMPK and Deadall are still quite low, just floating around the lane. I think it's quite risky for them to be sticking around, but they do need one of them should stay to hold off this minion wave.
Yep. So, what can Hunters do? So right now they're not exactly losing, but they're not exactly in the best position either. What should they be doing?
Well, it's the same as the last game. They had very close fights, but they just kept losing them by minuscule amounts. Even just like a small positioning error or a small item build differential, that's what was handing wins over to Infamous last time. But this time, it's simply picking fights at the wrong time again and again and again. They keep trying to invade. It's not been too successful for them. They did wait for LMPK to roam down this time, which was a much better idea. But to get out of this one, I don't know, because Fortress is now level 6. Fights are going to get much, much tougher for them if they allow Fox to farm up as well. With that Adagio, they're just going to be getting absolutely melted. I think they need a really good gauntlet from Arden. Wait until he hits level 6 or something, and try and get 1 or 2 pickoffs just to get them back into the swing of things gold-wise.
Yep, and the Wolves are released from Kahlua, and they're just going in. Look at the body block by the Wolves, but they're able to get out of range. And I don't think Masudo jumps straight in there, just right into the middle of it all, and he's going to be getting stunned by that Darcy Judgment. He is the first to go down. Dead Doll looking very low, and LMPK probably going to be finished off by that Fortress, and that's going to be the ace. The first ace actually going towards Infamous Stigma. Is this the first ace?
Yep, and that was all thanks to Fountain. Arden, you just saw him pick up the Fountain just now. I mean, why would you fight if you could have bought that and you know the enemy team has one? It just guarantees a win over to them. They managed to disengage, but I think Sudon's was just far too aggressive, going for that Yummy Catnip Frenzy, and Adagio managed to just use his First of Judgment for free.
Yeah, I just jump in by. I think they were, they've managed to successfully fend off. They're just gonna back off. I think Sidon shouldn't have jumped in at that point.
Definitely not. I mean, they hand over a turret, gold mine, and 3 kills. Look at the gold swing all of a sudden. 3k in favor of Infamous.
Yep, and now Hunters are gonna have to be a little more, cautious. They've lost that front turret. They can't really engage with it, but they're gonna be jumping straight in on that Kahlua. He's just gonna, the gauntlet comes down, but he reflex blocks that. What an amazing reflex block there.
Yep, I mean, that was just perfectly held on to. He could have used it immediately, could have panicked, but instead held on to it just the right amount of time. And they are trying to engage off the back of that. Here is Kahlua with the resonant bounce into, oh my god, the pulse.
Into the pulse.
The pulse was his B, and then it was followed by the Sonic Zoom, sorry.
Yes, Sky's now the only one left alive with Dead Doll and Sidon's. I think we saw some Sidon's doing a lot of damage there onto the box. But the problem was the fountain was back up. It saved his life again.
Yep, you just see Vox going down to like a quarter health every single time, followed by that fountain. So he is being saved by his support so often.
Maybe I think we should probably be seeing a little bit more kind of better target focus, because right now what it does seem that hunters aren't focusing on the same person each time, and I think that's to their detriment, because they're getting all three members of Infamous down quite low, but not enough to finish off anyone. And the wolves are released yet again. Hunters are on their run. They're going to back away to their turret there. Death from above trying to spot him, but look how fast Dead Doll went down and stood on caught in the middle again. And that's going to be another kill going down. LMPK now the only one left alive with 3 wolves and all 3 members of Infamous Stigma after him. And I don't know if they're going to be chasing for this ace, but it's not looking too great for LMPK so far, and he is just going to make it back into the base.
With a sliver of health, yeah, Dajo was being so aggressive there. That was really well played. Taking a little bit of turret aggro while Vox and Fortress decided to destroy the turret, which was definitely the right move.
Yep, and there's going to be taking that minion mine, so we're seeing a lot of aggression coming out from Infamous right now.
Here's the Infamous we were talking about at the beginning. 11 minutes in and they've already cracked open the base of Hunters. There's only 2 Vayne turrets left.
Yep, and it looks like they might just be going for that gold mine again. I think it's probably not the best. It looks like they're just going to engage again. Look at how fast LMPK going down. He should not have been at the front there. Signal's coming out with the stun on Daenerys, but it does not do anything in a 1v3 situation. And that's going to be another ace for Stigma.
Yep, and you saw the death from above catching like all 3 members of Infamous, but Weapon Sky, that's not going to do anything except stun them, which I think a couple of members blocked it.
Yep, and so another ace is a 17 Sue situation. Infamous Stigma are now 8k ahead in gold.
But they don't have the chance to take down any more turrets, simply because the death timers are so low at 11 minutes in. So, I mean, all of the members of Hunters are up already, but it would be to their detriment to try and invade again, like try and get their jungles the same way they did last time.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the farm for both teams, they're actually relatively similar on both sides. So it's not the farm that they're losing out on, it's just the team fights and the engages.
Yeah, LPK is a little bit behind. I think the forward barrage is just being wasted because of the wolves. There's not any crit behind it as well, which probably isn't the best idea.
Yep, we see Infamous Stigma kind of like creeping towards the Hunter's ace base, trying to finish off those last 2 turrets. They do have a strong minion wave with them, so I think we can expect a really exciting or really short team fight to be breaking anytime soon. They are kind of loitering behind that wall there. I'm not quite sure what their plan is at the moment. Do you?
No, they were just making a very nice tower of their names. Maybe that'll be like a highlights reel. I think just waiting on Hunters coming to them again. They know exactly how to engage as soon as they see any member of Hunters, and now that they've got them pushed into their base, they're just waiting on them getting confident enough to try and come and get that first jungle healer.
They see them, and the wolves are released, jumping straight in. The gauntlet from Dead Doll coming out, but LMPK is not going to leave, and Sidon just jumps straight in again. That death from above does nothing. Klua is running towards him, and now 2 of the wolves are still out. A forward barrage is doing nothing, and look how fast LMPK is going to go down. Dead Doll just makes it back into the base. No, he doesn't. He dies right on the steps of the base.
Oh my God.
That's heartbreaking for Dead Doll there. That last turret is going to go down, but we do see Sidon's coming out very soon. This could be their chance to pick up some kills, because Klua and Klua are looking very, very low. Sidon's just jumping straight in. I don't know if he will be able to finish up the kills there. Klua just using that Sonic Zoom to get away, and the crystal goes down. And this is another game for Infamous Stigma that's going to be under 15 minutes.
Yep, I mean, that's a very impressive track record. They've dealt with one of the strongest opponents so far and will be securing their place into the finals. Congratulations, Infamous, for the first organization to make it through to the finals of this Tesseract Tesseract League.
I'd also like to say congratulations to Hunter's Ace. They were the number 30 seed in their bracket, and I think they've done extraordinarily well. They've beaten at the number 2 and the number 1 seed both times in their matches, and they've shown such strong improvement. And I would expect to see some very strong performance for them in future leagues.
Yep, I mean, we'll take a small amount of time to go over the builds, then we'll have a short break and into the second game of the day, which will be the Infamous against Infamous, looking like an in-house scrim here, but it will be Spectre against Legion. Obviously, you saw this game, Hunters did have 2 fountains, which should have worked in their favor, except with the silence from Vox, coupled with the attack of the pack from Fortress again, that was just ignored so much. I mean, Infamous seemed to know that Hunters weren't dealing with that very well, so managed to pick the Fortress up as their first choice. It was very good decision making to go with that. I know Fortress is a very strong pick, but it was all on Hunters to ban it out.